Hey, beautiful people. It's been a while. So I wanted to talk today. Today's video is going to be on to hire or not to hire, and to pass or not to pass. And this is about a job advice. I've been communicating with some of you via Instagram on, what are the things that make a person succeed? What are the things that make a person fail? First of all, let's talk about the hiring. And it's going to be a short video. I'll try to keep it short so that you guys don't get distracted. So the personal history statement, PHS, is a document that you fill out when you do a background investigation. And a lot of you, well, some of you are not taking it as serious as what it's supposed to be, in terms of a background investigation. So when you apply to a law enforcement job, a government job, federal job, state job, they do a background investigation to make sure that you qualify for that position, that you're qualified, that you don't have stuff in your background that's going to exclude you from getting hired. And so that personal history statement, and I'll refer to it as the PHS form from now on, PHS statement, personal history statement. The PHS form needs to be taken serious by you. And so that means that you have to put all the data in there that you're supposed to put so that the background investigator doesn't think you're lying. If you've ever been fired from a job, you need to list that on there. For example, with me, I was let go from a job. I fell asleep working for a small agency, dispatch, and that doesn't minimize what I did, but I was, just turned 18. I wasn't very mature, and so from that point forward, I had to disclose that I did in fact fail probation. So what if I hadn't told them that? Then I would be failed the background just because of that reason. And for some of you, you're leaving stuff out that's very minor, that's not even that serious. And for a background investigator, like a former background investigator like myself, that tells me that you're going to do the same thing once you get hired. You're going to lie on a police report. You're going to lie in court on the stand. You're going to lie to your supervisors. So that is a no-no, right? So in order to get hired, you have to understand how serious that PHS form is. So it's not enough to just pass the pellet B.
Watch out, crash reported ahead.
Not enough to pass the pellet B. It's not enough to pass the interview, get hired, go through the background investigation process. No, you have to kind of pay attention to how important this step is. So please, some of you, put on the comments if you have questions on the PHS form. For example, I'll answer one real quick. What if you forgot all the places you ever worked for? Where do we, background investigators, get that information? Well, we get that information from Social Security Administration. We take the waiver that you signed, and we go ahead and go to the Social Security Administration, and we contact them via email, and they disclose every employer you have ever had in your entire life. Your Social Security number stays with you your entire life. So never a good idea to lie on the PHS form. Let's stop there. So the next part of this video is the pass, don't pass. And what I mean is the field training officer, the FTO program. So assuming you got hired by your agency, you've passed the background, you passed the medical, you've gone through the training, you've gone through the academy or whatever other training you need for your position. Now you're in the training program. And I had someone reach out to me asking, he's working corrections, and he's going to be transferring over to patrol within the sheriff's office. And he wanted to kind of know what are some of the, what's my advice? Like what's the best qualities to pass the FTO program. So pay attention. It's pretty important, because if you're following my channel, or if you landed here by accident, then it's going to help you pass the background or pass the training, the FTO program. So I'm a former training officer. When you get
watch out, vehicle on shoulder ahead.
When you get in my car, basically, you're there to learn the job. You're not there to vent about your problems, to tell me about your cat and your dog and your kids and your prior experience. As a background investigator, I do not care about any of that stuff. My mission is to make sure that you meet all the standards that my department has set forth for you to pass. So there's a bunch of different areas that we're going to assess you on, right? And there's if we're still following the San Jose Police Department training scale 1 through 7, 1 is failing the program, 2 is not responding to training, 3 you're barely making it, 4 you're qualified to be released, and then 5, okay, you're doing, it's time to release you type of thing. Even the 4 could be released. And then 7, you walk on water. No one is a 7, no one is a 6, and hardly anyone is a 5. We are aiming to put you at a 4 so we can release you to go out there and finish the job. So for your advice, subscriber, that you reached out to me, first of all, your mission is changing. When you work in corrections, you're basically babysitting people that have been ordered to serve their sentences in courts, and there's a different environment that you work in. The inmates, want to earn your respect. You want to earn their respect, and so forth. But on the street, it's different. Hey, see, I did that on purpose. Okay, on the street, you better be watching people's hands. You better be able to officer safety at all times, right? If you work in corrections many years, you say you have more control inside than you have outside. But if I work patrol many years, which I did, I'll tell you that maybe we have more control on the outside than you have on the inside. It's all relative depending on the job. But again, I'm only dealing with this because you're switching from corrections, babysitting inmates, to patrol, where you're alert and you're responding to very different type of calls every day. 1 minute, you're responding to somebody's bike got stolen. Next minute, you got somebody at gunpoint. They just robbed a bank, or they raped a person, or they stabbed a person, or they're trying to kill a person, or they just killed a person. Everything is fresh. And so your mentality has to change. So when you're in a training program, the first thing, obviously, that starts,
Watch out, vehicle on shoulder ahead.
When you get in the patrol car, you have to make sure you have a flashlight, especially if you're working swing shift and night cover, graveyard shift. If you don't have a flashlight, you're going to be in trouble out there, right? So I know some of you forget things. As a police trainee, you don't forget the flashlight. Very important, the flashlight. At the beginning of the shift, are you prepared? I'm going to watch you to see if you could check out the car. Did you check the lights? Did you check the car? Does it have any kind of contraband left over from the past shift? You got to search that back seat. You got to search it well. Why? Because if you put somebody back there and they drop drugs, you got to be able to testify in court that you searched the back seats for weapons, for contraband, okay? Do the seatbelts work? Everything is clean, that kind of stuff. In the patrol car, got to make sure you have flares, got to make sure you have the first aid kit, got to make sure you have everything that your department has you contained in the trunk, right? All the emergency equipment, the crime scene tape, right? Everything that's, the roller tape if you do traffic accidents, that kind of stuff, right? And so that's important. From the car itself, from the patrol car, do all the lights work, right? If you're working a night shift and your spotlight is out, that car is not good for you, right? You can try it, but you're going to have a heck of a time when you do traffic stops, takedowns, etc. If your spotlight is burned out, you might as well get another car. Your overhead lights, right? In California, we have to have a steady red at all times, right? Because the law says if you don't have a steady red, the flashing lights will not meet the circumstances. If a person runs from you, gets into a pursuit type of thing, per 2800 of the California Penal Code, you have to have a fixed red. So when you're checking the lights, get out of the car. Check, is there one of the lights in the light bar that's steady red to the front? Sometimes there's different buttons, there's different clicks on your light bar, and the first click is just your ambers to the back. Second click is your steady red, maybe a blue. And then third click, or third button is full code 3, full lights going, right? This is the beginning of the shift. You haven't even started, you're just starting your shift. I'm just telling you the things that make you a good recruit, right? So you check out the car. Do any of the tires look like they're going flat? Is there any damage on the car? You have to report all damage at the beginning of the shift. You have to walk around the car to see if there's any damage on that patrol car from the previous shift, and you have to report it. You're gonna look pretty stupid if you didn't walk around the car looking for damage, like you rented a car and you walked around, didn't check to see if there was any damage, and then all of a sudden, 20 minutes in, go to a call and you look, man, where did that then come from? Well, you should have picked that up in the beginning of the shift. Now, we get in the car, right? You get in the car, you're logging on to the computer, right? You're logging on with your ID, you're logging on, we're gonna go on duty, right? We're getting ready to go on duty. And your call sign, what is your call sign? It's not your name, remember, it's your call sign. What beat are you working, right? Do you know that call sign? If we're having a conversation, and then all of a sudden the call sign comes up, mine was Y61, it's like, Y61, you stop and you listen. You stop the story. I don't care if you're talking about the most important story in the world. You stop and you listen. As a recruit, you have to multitask. And I'm not yelling at you, by the way, right? A lot of you, when you go through the training program, you can handle constructive criticism. And that's my next thing, right? Constructive criticism. What is constructive criticism? It's basically you're doing something wrong and I'm telling you about it. When you're in a training program, at the end of the shift, we're gonna do a DOR, daily observation report. And we're gonna put down everything you did wrong, right? You were too slow to get to the call. You got lost. You didn't know the questions to ask the person. You did a shitty report, blah, blah, blah. And then we may put a few things that you did right. You were breathing. You showed up on time. You wore a uniform, And hopefully, as the training goes on, the list on the DOR of negatives will start to shrink and the positives will increase, right? That's all part of constructive criticism. So as your training officer, I'm going to be giving you constructive criticism. Shut up. Like when I say shut up, like zip it, shut your face. Like shut up. And this is not rude. I'm just telling you, like, we're in the middle of something and you're trying to tell me about your cat. Shut up. So that we can focus on what's going on with the situation at hand, right? So if I tell you to shut up and you keep talking, that's going to be on your daily observation report that you can't take directions, that you can't multitask, that if you're telling a story, a good story about your cat, and then I tell you to stop because we got a freaking stabbing in progress, that you can't switch gears, right? You can finish the story later, right? And again, this violates the first rule of what I told you in a previous video. Don't talk about your personal stuff at work. If you start telling me that you're having problems with your girlfriend or ex-girlfriend or ex-wife or whatever, significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, whatever, you come to work and you tell me that, I am not your priest. I'm your training officer. So if you tell me that you're having problems at home and you get to work and you start messing up on your calls at work, I'm going to ding you for it. And I'm going to write on there that you told me you were having problems, dating problems, relationship problems, divorce problems, etc. And that may cause you not to pass the training program, right? And the training program will last 4 months, give and take. You're going to be rotated through various training officers in various shifts. How we handle ourselves on a day shift is very different than we handle on a swing shift or night shift, night cover, because of the type of people that we come in contact with. Normal, average day people work, daytime, Monday through Friday, weekends off, holidays off, they wave at you, their kids are well dressed, everything else. That's day shift. You better behave yourself when you're working day shift. You don't use profanity on day shift. Not to say you should be using profanity, but sometimes it slips on different shifts, right? You're trying to take down a parolee, a heavy-duty gangbanger, and you got your gun out, he's not listening. Sometimes, profanity comes out. It's probably okay on swing shift when shots are being fired, people are being stabbed, etc. And that parolee understands why you're talking to him because he talks to you like that. But on a day shift, you're not going to be talking like that. So you better understand when you're getting rotated through these training shifts, that you're not going to be acting like a total jerk to people. Citizens on day shift will complain, and you will get in trouble and possibly fired if you're on probation. So I just covered a few of the areas, right? Show up to work early, right? Have a clean uniform. Have multiple clean uniforms in your locker, right? Have your cleaning stuff at work for your shining your boots, right? Your shoes should be clean at the start of every shift. It doesn't matter that 20 minutes into the shift, you jumped into a bunch of dusty conditions and now your black boots look like shit. All that matters is when you showed up on the shift is that your boots were shiny. Everything checks out. Your uniform looks crisp. Have a couple lint rollers in your locker, right? Why? Because uniforms attract lint, and when you roll with a lint roller, you take all that lint off, right? Act professional. Watch what comes out of your freaking mouth, right? I mean, at all times, watch what comes out of your mouth, because when you're in a training program, every word you say is being counted, right? It's either a plus or a negative, right? Most of the time, whatever. I ran into a student, a future student of mine, and he was telling me that this is a different topic now. We switched topics, but this is good advice for whoever's listening, right? So I ran into a student, and he was telling me that he wants to work for this specific agency, and I kept listening. And the reason why, he knows the streets. He grew up in the area. He has family in town, etc., etc. I gotta tell you, one of the biggest mistakes, if you're looking for a police job, one of the biggest mistakes you'll make is to get tunnel vision and say, I want to be a police officer, a deputy sheriff, but I only want to work in the city and county that I grew up in. You sound so immature, and all of us are immature at a certain point in our lives. There's a device called GPS that allows you to work in any city in the world, and you don't have to know the streets. Any city in the world. Think about this. We can get a police officer from San Francisco PD and put him down in LA PD for a month. Just put him on the car with a couple other San Francisco PD officers because LA PD needs help, whatever. And they give him a GPS device and a map, a book map. And guess what? They can do the same job they're doing in San Francisco in LA. And I was telling this future student, hey, have you considered that Los Angeles Police Department has, 11 helicopters and 2 or 3 planes, and the experience you get at LAPD in 1 year is equivalent to these other small agencies, like 15 years. Yeah, I said 15 years at a small agency. So this advice that I give you is designed to help you succeed in a training program. So in summary, to get hired or not get hired, it matters because you didn't put something in the PHS form, and so you have to edit the crap out of that form before you submit it, right? And then number 2 issue on this video is to pass or not to pass, meaning the FTO program, right? And so I hope you followed all the advice. Now, let me just say this. I'm just scratching the surface, and I may even do more videos after this one, things that come to my mind as to why people failed, right? And there's a whole list of things, and I'll probably will create a video. If you guys want me to, put it in the comments area. I'll be notified, and then I'll do it. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe and follow me on Instagram. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you have a topic you want me to discuss, again, go in the comments area. Hey, Brian, can you discuss this topic? It's really itching me. I thank you for listening. I love you guys. Please be safe out there. Yeah, we'll talk in the next video. Have a good one.